them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so Trump Tower, Moscow. Is that really back on the table?
Well, that's the intriguing possibility being raised, yeah. It's coming from a report in the Moscow Times, an independent Russian paper.
Right, the Moscow Times. And it feels like there's a lot to unpack here.
Definitely. It's got layers. So in this deep dive, that's what we're aiming for, to really explore the history, why now, and what the reporting suggests is behind it all.
Because this isn't some brand new idea, is it?
Not at all. It's fascinating, actually. We're talking about something that goes back, a decade, maybe more. And now, apparently, it's being seriously reconsidered.
So we want to get beyond just the headlines people might have seen.
Exactly. Really dig into the substance. And we're mainly drawing on a pretty detailed Newsweek article, which covers that original Moscow Times story.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Where did this whole idea, the Trump Tower in Moscow concept, actually come from? What's the origin story?
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, Trump's interest in putting a building there, planting a flag, so to speak, it goes way back.
How far back are we talking?
The reporting points to his visit there in July 1987.
Wow, 87, that's quite a while ago.
It is. And it wasn't just, a casual thought he had while visiting.
No. It sounds like he had a specific vision even then.
He did. In his own book, Art of the Deal, which came out that same year, 1987, he actually wrote about wanting a large luxury hotel across the street from the Kremlin in partnership with the Soviet government.
So very specific. Right across from the Kremlin, with the government involved, a stated goal.
A stated goal, yeah. Not just a fleeting idea.
But obviously, that version didn't happen. What stalled those early plans?
According to the Newsweek piece, those initial efforts, they petered out around January 2016.
January 2016. That timing is interesting.
Yeah.
Right as his first presidential campaign was really heating up.
Exactly. The timing is definitely noteworthy.
Okay, so let's jump forward nearly 10 years. Now, the Moscow Times is reporting the Kremlin is weighing offering this to him again. What's behind this potential revival? What are the alleged motivations?
Well, the report, citing sources close to the Kremlin, suggests the idea is to use this project as a way to lure him, that's the word used.
Lure him into what?
Into a bigger deal. Something aimed at restoring the relationship between Moscow and Washington. It suggests they see his business side, his long-held ambition for this project as maybe an opening.
And the timing now, feels significant too, right? Relations have been incredibly frosty since the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
Extremely tense, yes. But the report does mention a kind of perceived thawing since Trump returned to office in January 2025.
So they might see this as a strategic window, leverage this old interest for bigger geopolitical goals.
That seems to be the thinking outlined in the reports, yes. A possible strategic moment.
And it's not just about, a building. The report mentions something about a spectacle.
That's right. Political theater seems to be part of the consideration. The Moscow Times piece, which Newsweek highlights, talks about the Kremlin possibly inviting Trump to a big, groundbreaking opening ceremony.
To generate a lot of media buzz.
Exactly. Maximum attention. Create a spectacle.
It makes you wonder, is this a one-off idea? Or is it part of a bigger picture, a broader strategy to engage with Trump?
Well, the reporting does connect it to previous efforts. Newsweek mentions that after Trump won in 2016, Russian officials and analysts were apparently told to find hooks.
Hooks, their term?
Their term, yeah. Things that would specifically appeal to him. And big state-linked companies were reportedly told to prep cooperation proposals with the U.S.
And these weren't small companies. The report names some major players, right? Rosneft, Rosatom.
Rusal, Polyazgold, too. Yeah, these are huge names in the Russian economy. Major entities involved in that brainstorming.
So it was within that kind of context, looking for ways to engage, that this Trump Tower idea surfaced again, or gained prominence.
It seems so. Among various potential strategies, this one stood out.
Okay, so why this project? Out of all the possibilities they might have brainstormed, what made the Tower project special, according to these sources?
Speed and impact seem to be key.
Yeah.
The potential for a quick launch and something visually impressive.
Quick and flashy.
Right. One Kremlin-linked source is quoted saying, "Speed, effect, and spectacle are important here. Everything that Trump intuitively values."
So the thinking is this project delivers something tangible, something headline-grabbing, relatively fast, appealing directly to his perceived preferences.
That seems to be the strategic angle described. It plays into what they believe are his core motivations.
Which I suppose aligns with his public persona and business background. Now, what about Trump himself? What has he actually said about a Moscow project over the years? He's usually pretty vocal.
He is. Newsweek references his past comments. During the first presidential run, he described the venture as just, his company exploring possibilities.
Just looking into it.
Yeah. And he gave a reason, saying, there's a good chance I wouldn't have won, and why should I lose lots of opportunities? Sort of separating business from politics, from his perspective then.
That's, a very transactional viewpoint. And wasn't there also a quote from years earlier? A deposition.
Yes, that's mentioned too. Back in 2007, in a deposition, he said, Russia is one of the hottest places in the world for investment. We will be in Moscow at some point.
2007. So this interest in the Russian market, it really is a long-standing thing for him, not just recent.
Definitely seems to be a long-term ambition, based on his own words.
And we should probably remember, for listeners who followed the investigations after 2016, this wasn't totally out of the blue. The idea of a Trump property in Moscow did come up then.
That's right. It was a thread in that larger story. The plans for a potential property were mentioned in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report.
The big one. 448 pages, I think.
Yeah. It provided some background on the various business interests and discussions involving Russia around that time.
Okay, so fast forwarding again to right now. What's Trump's current public position on Russia? Especially with the war in Ukraine, does that give us any clues?
Well, the Newsweek piece points to a recent post he made on Truth Social. He talked about working on a deal between Russia and Ukraine.
A deal? What did he say?
He sounded optimistic, writing, both will then start to do big business with the United States of America, which is thriving, and make a fortune.
So he's envisioning future business ties with both countries, potentially, benefiting the U.S.
That seems to be the implication of that statement, yes. A future where economic engagement is back on the table.
Okay, let's try to bring it all together then. We've got this long-held Trump ambition for a Moscow tower.
Decades old, really.
Yeah, and now potentially being revived by the Kremlin, the reported reason, using it as a strategic hook.
Allure, yeah, to encourage better U.S.-Russia relations overall, especially with what they see as maybe a thaw since he returned to office.
And this specific project is attractive because it offers, quote, speed, effect, and spectacle.
Things they believe he values. Plus, we have his own history of wanting to invest in Russia and his recent comments about future big business.
That sums up the main points from the reporting pretty well.
Yeah, it really lays out that potential mix of, old business goals and new geopolitical calculations.
Which really leads to the final thought for you listening. When you consider all this, the history, the alleged motives now, the current global situation, what are the potential ripple effects, politically, economically, if this project actually went ahead?
It's a big question. What does it really tell us about how high-level business and international diplomacy can get tangled up?
Definitely gives you something to think about. Maybe it sparks some curiosity to look more into that whole U.S.-Russia dynamic, or just the complex ways international business works. Lots to consider.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Bobby doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I